Good afternoon, everyone, if you could say that. It's January 20th, 2021. I'm Eric. So, I did a video this morning which could not be uploaded to YouTube because, I get a second strike, perhaps even a third. So, that video is up on BitChute, and I will leave a link in the description box if you care to see it. I think you would find it to be rather interesting. Somebody out there did a great job of documenting all the precognition, we'll call it, when it comes to our so-called pandemic. You probably don't want to miss that video. I will be doing something different in this one, though. First, let's get started with this clip from CNN of one of the anchors there straight up sucking the asshole of pedophile Joe Biden. This comes from Dave Rubin's account. I don't even know who that dude is, but thank you, Dave Rubin, for Rubin Report, for putting this up here, because, man, they're correct when they say you won't even hear shit like this in North Korea.
On display tonight was so soft. I mean, those lights that are just shooting out from the Lincoln Memorial along the Reflecting Memorial. I think extensions of Joe Biden's arm embracing the moment where the new president
And I guess he's talking about the way he extends his arms around his victim, or the children that are his victim. Right? But let's not say anything about that, news media, shall we? Shall we not do that? Moving on. Meet the new boss. I've been hammering on conservatives, and the reason I've been doing this is because, well, the libtards, they're out and open and blatant with their tyranny, whereas the right-wingers, they like to hide behind a veneer of Christianity and conservatism. But let's meet our new boss. It's the same old shit, and you sycophants, you voting public, have got fucked once again. Isn't that nice? Today, in what resembles a scene more akin to that of North Korea than the land of the free, the 46th President of the United States, Joe Biden, will be sworn into office. Trump, he really, in his farewell speech, he really did a good job of sucking his own dick, didn't he? I mean, dude must be fucking double jointed. But, a road to victory. How many of these YouTube videos have you seen talking about there's still hope, that there's still hope? Wrist Flex is one of them people. I'm trying to find these people, but I guess I'll do a video on that later. But for now, it's usually a sign that American society is in the midst of a major political feud. The fact that the incoming and outgoing presidents can't shake hands and co-participate in an inauguration means something's off kilter in the democracy. And that's an understatement. To understand just how off kilter and out of whack America is, we can look at how the two parties view what's about to happen. And by the way, they are going to be coming after not only Trump supporters, not only people that voted for Donald Trump and all that, but they're going to be coming after people like me. You know why? Because I'm not willing to suck their asses. I'm non-political, meaning I don't give a shit who the president is. But one tyrant, if you've seen one tyrant, you've pretty much seen them all. It just so happens that America used to be better at hiding their tyranny than they are now. But let's make it clear. We have not been a free society since Abraham Lincoln. Okay? And we weren't really a free society before that, were we? I mean, after all, George Washington did allow a central bank to be developed, right? All right, in the minds of the establishment left, a new dawn is on the horizon with nothing but unicorns at $15 an hour minimum wage and free health care and college for all. In the minds of the establishment, right, dark times are ahead. As the child-sniffing, gum-grabbing, or I said gun-grabbing, senile old man takes the throne to send them all off to the gulags. I wonder how true that statement's going to be. The truth of the matter, however, that there will be no free health care and no gulags yet. We'll see about that. At least the gulags part. I mean, don't we already have, like, hundreds of gulags in our country now? You know, the prison industrial complex, where a guy gets caught with a gram of cocaine, gets more fucking time in the gulag than a child molesting freak like our newest president. Well, let's be honest, like most of them. Never mind their connection to Jeffrey Epstein. That's conveniently unmentioned, right? One thing is certain, however, that is the U.S. empire will continue to fund its hundreds of bases that literally encompasses the globe to maintain its murderous global hegemony. I find it rather fucked up that these people can agree on new laws to pass that will strip you of your rights so very quickly, but they couldn't come to an agreement over uh, checks that really, let's be honest here, and I'm not a liberal, and I'm not for the state, but since these states have destroyed our economy through their lockdowns and destroyed many, many, many lives, those checks should really be a lot more than what they are. I mean, if it was a private citizen that destroyed the life of another person like that, and we had standing in court, that they would be paying a hell of a lot more than, what was it, $1,200 and $500 kid, and then $600, and now $1,400. They'd be paying a whole lot more than that. The war machine will continue to march on as drone missiles rain down on brown children in the Middle East and Africa. Saudi Arabia and Israel will maintain their place at the U.S. taxpayer funded through. The Americans will be fed scraps from the marble-walled tables in Washington. Remember, these are the same people who want you to eat insects, who want you to go without heat and air conditioner, who don't want you driving your big pickup trucks. Meanwhile, they have multiple mansions, a big-ass yacht, private jets where horrific crimes are committed against children. But I digress once again. And thanks to mainstream media's role in acting as a guard for the establishment, divide will continue to tear Americans apart as partisan distractions are force-fed to all of us via establishment shills and fact-checkers. Despite pedophile Joe running on a platform of unity to bring Americans back together, as if we were ever together in the first place, before he was even sworn in, he royally fumbled this promise by alienating tens of millions of Trump supporters, essentially declaring them the enemy. And they're not the only enemy. Anyone who believes in absolute freedom, well, they're as much of an enemy as Trump supporters. Don't forget that. Don't dare call them protesters, Biden said after the largely peaceful march in D.C., which ended with a few hundred goons. Our tens of thousands of peaceful protesters raided the Capitol. They were a riotous mob, insurrectionists, domestic terrorists. It's that basic. It's that simple. And just like Trump used Antifa violence to bolster the police state and add stricter penalties for protest, Biden is using the riot on Capitol Hill to do the same. You know, it's funny they should mention that, because I recall back during pedophile Trump's inauguration, shit being burned, lots and lots of violence. But let's not mention that, because I might be a fucking racist if I do. The fact is, on the surface, it will remain business as usual in Washington once the smoke clears. The politicians will get back to doing the bidding for their lobbyists. All the while blaming the other party for America's woes, despite playing the lead role in creating said woes. Biden's not going to treat Wall Street any differently than Trump, just like Trump didn't treat them any differently than Obama, and Obama didn't treat them any differently than Bush, and Bush Clinton, and Clinton the other Bush. But how many mom and pop businesses have been shut down as a direct result of plans they made many years ago to do exactly what they did throughout the year of 2020, with Trump's help, by the way. If you are one of the few liberals left to oppose war and think that Biden, who voted for the Iraq War and oversaw the destruction of Libya into a hell state with open-air slave markets, will somehow reverse course and advocate peace, you are mistaken. As a matter of fact, he's begun to fill his cabinet already with the most diverse group of mass-murdering war hawks ever assembled. And just like many MAGA folks, America's most retarded, were duped in Trump's alleged 4D chess plan of making America great. Biden supporters begging to be fooled again are falling for the same slick-tongued fucking lies. And the perpetual cycle of bullshit continues. There is no Constitution. That's been gone a long time. There is no freedom. That's been gone a long time. There is only big business and authoritarianism. Look at this. Durham Sheriff bragging about the newest edition of their fleet. Check out the newest edition of our fleet. This ghost car will be used by our community policing and traffic unit. With its low-profile graphics, you'll never see it coming, especially at night. Make sure you're not speeding, wear your seatbelt, and stay sober behind the wheel, rather. And somebody made a very good point, replying to the Durham Sheriff. If the mission is to serve and protect, why do you need to be invisible? Yeah. They're really fucking proud of themselves. Every time they shove it in your ass with no Vaseline, they're really, really proud of themselves. Wonder what this is. I would venture to say that in spite of all the rhetoric from the right, and probably there's a reason why these people are the most hated people in this country. Right up there, along with our so-called other leaders. Like Nancy Pelosi, Mitch McConnell, Lindsey Graham. These people. So, the department bragged literally about hiding from citizens they claim to protect and serve. What does it say about a public servant who don't want to be seen in order to catch people breaking the law? If they truly cared about keeping the citizens safe, they would make the most visible cars possible. And we have the same shit going on here. Not in my town, but you know, in Spartanburg County, same kind of underhanded bullshit tactics. So, keep giving these people lip service, keep on giving them power, keep on doing what you've been doing, America, because it's gotten so much better. Right? But here's something that we can laugh about together. Unarmed, off-duty police officer shot in the head. Huh. Wow. And killed by a fellow cop during a DUI stop. Isn't that funny? I find it to be very amusing that they put a hole in the head of one of their own. Bravo. Meanwhile, parents shocked as armed cops show up at their homes to talk about kids' grades as if it's any of their fucking business. Right? Is it their business? And let's go look at this. 11 of the most memorable acts of civil disobedience in history. Civil disobedience evokes a range of reactions when people hear the term. Some instinctively wince regarding it as antisocial or subversive. Others, like me, want to know more before we judge. You know what? I don't judge. Let's look at these 11 instances of disobedience. Defying a pharaoh in ancient Egypt. Chapter 1 of the Old Testament's book of Exodus provides what is probably the oldest recorded instance of civil disobedience. It dates to about 3,500 years ago. Two midwives in Egypt, and I'm not even going to try to pronounce their fucking names because I'll just butcher them, disobeyed an order from the Pharaoh to kill all male Hebrew babies at birth. And when they were called to account, they lied to cover their tracks. The Exodus account says their defiance pleased God, who rewarded them for it. So anyone who says God is always on the side of the politician must wrestle with this example, as well as the next one. I'm not even going to try to name this one either. Number 2, Patrol of Antigon. I'm not even sure if I'm pronouncing that right, but this individual apparently was a king of Thebes. Attempts to prevent her from giving her brother Polynices a proper burial. Antigone declared her conscience to be more important than any royal decree. You get that? Your conscience is more important than any political decree handed down to us. Of course, she was given the death sentence for her defiance. but she never recanted. This woman had more balls than 90% or more of the American men, if you want to call them that. What about Judea and the slaughter of innocents? The book of Matthew in the New Testament reveals that when told that a Jewish Messiah had been born in Bethlehem, King Herod felt personally threatened. He ordered the 3 visiting wise men to go to the city, find the baby, and then report back to him. And as we all know, the Magi did indeed go to Bethlehem, where they presented Joseph, Mary, and the baby, Jesus, with gifts. But then they disobeyed Herod and vanished. In a fit of anger, the king then ordered the execution of all male children under 2 years old in the vicinity of Bethlehem. How far do you suppose we are from that type of leadership? Robert the Bruce defies the Pope. 1317, Pope demanded that King Robert I of Scotland, better known as Robert the Bruce, embrace a truce with the English in the First War of Scottish Independence. For his refusal to follow the Pope's orders, he was excommunicated. Oh, how heartbreaking. How heartbreaking it is to be excommunicated from a church that's been covering up its massive pedophile problem probably since back then. The Flushing's Stanford Quakers. Governor Peter Stuyvesant of the Dutch colonies in North America did not like Quakers. In 1655, he commenced persecution of them and demanded local authorities participate. The following year, the citizens of Flushing, present-day Queens, New York, drafted and signed a document known as the Flushing Remonstrance. I'm not even sure if I'm pronouncing that right. As I recently wrote, those brave people essentially told them, fuck yourself. Boston Smashing Tea Party. We all know about that one. What about Robert Small's daring escape? Robert Smalls was born a slave in South Carolina in 1839. 23 years later, in a daring escape, he and other slave friends commenced a Confederate transport ship, or commandeered, rather, a Confederate transport ship in Charleston Harbor. And they sailed right past the Confederate guns into the embrace of the Union blockade. Everywhere, USA. From 1920 to 1933, America engaged in the nationwide crusade against the importation, manufacture, transportation, and sale of alcoholic beverages known as the Prohibition. And everybody drank anyway. Gandhi's famous Salt March. Sophie and Hans Scholl's heroic stand. And they were students at the University of Munich when, at the height of Hitler's power in 1942, they formed the White Rose movement. By the thousands, they printed and distributed leaflets denouncing Nazi rule. You know, if we were to do that right now, we'd probably go to prison. You know that, right? Eastern Europe singing revolution. So, there's been quite a few brave individuals in the history of mankind. Where are they at? now. I'm not going to say that I'm Mr. Brave or Mr. Macho, but we need more people that are willing to straight up disobey all the edicts, all the laws that are unreasonable. Well, anywho, thought I'd talk to you guys about this because, you know, people like myself and anyone who dared to support dickhead Donald Trump, whoever is stupid enough to believe his shit, well, we are probably facing some heavy persecution from the left. And if we fight back against that persecution, we will be deemed terrorists. Domestic terrorists. Let that sink in. Till next time, kill the state, live free.